The arrival * the night was quiet in the old mountain observatory. A soft, cold wind moved across the broken stones, and the sky was dark except for one thin line of stars stretching across the horizon. Ethan Cole sat alone inside the control room, surrounded by old screens and blinking lights. Most people thought this place was abandoned. Only Ethan still came here, trying to fix old equipment and listen for strange signals from space. He liked the silence. It helped him think. At midnight, one of the machines began to beep. A sharp, rapid sound. Ethan frowned. He hadn't touched that receiver in years. He rolled his chair closer and looked at the monitor. The screen was shaking waves, jumping up and down like something was trying to break through the noise. Not possible, he whispered. He turned a few knobs, adjusted the frequency, and the signal became clearer. It wasn't random static. It was a pattern. Fast, slow, fast, fast, slow, almost like someone knocking on a door. Then the signal changed again. It became a voice, broken, distant, and full of fear. The word was soft, almost swallowed by static, but Ethan heard it. He froze. Nobody should be able to contact this old equipment, not from Earth, and definitely not from space. "Who is this?" he said, leaning closer to the microphone. "Are you in danger?" No answer. Just more strange noise, then another word. "Please," Ethan stood up. His heartbeat grew faster. He walked outside the observatory and looked up at the sky. Nothing was moving. Everything looked normal. Then the lights appeared. At first, they were tiny dots. Then they grew larger, brighter, and closer. It was not a plane. It was not a satellite. The lights pulsed like breathing. The air around Ethan turned warm, then cold, then warm again. The ground under his feet started to vibrate. A loud roaring filled the air. Suddenly, something tore through the clouds, a burning object shooting across the sky, leaving a long trail of blue fire behind it. Ethan stumbled back as the object dropped lower and lower. Then it crashed. The impact shook the entire mountain. Birds flew from the trees. Dust and smoke exploded into the air. Ethan covered his face and coughed as the shockwave hit him. When the dust finally settled, he saw something glowing at the edge of the forest. It was not a meteor. It was a pod, a large metallic escape pod, shaped like an egg, half buried in the ground and steaming heavily. Strange alien symbols glowed on its surface, soft blue lines that moved like veins. Ethan felt his legs shaking, but he forced himself forward. Curiosity was stronger than fear. When he reached the pod, he heard something banging from inside. A voice, a cry. Then the hatch opened, the door slid up slowly, releasing a hiss of smoke. Two figures were inside. One was tall, thin, and covered in a torn silver suit. The other was a small child. Holding the woman tightly, the tall woman fell forward and collapsed into Ethan's arms. She was alien. Not a monster, almost human, but not fully. Her skin had a faint blue glow. Her hair moved like liquid silver. Her eyes were large, bright, and filled with exhaustion. She tried to speak. Her voice was weak and shaking. "You. Human." Ethan nodded, still shocked. "Yes, yes, I'm human." "Are you hurt?" She grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. Her long fingers were cold. "Please help," she whispered. The child behind her stared at Ethan with glowing green eyes, silent. Scared, but curious, the woman looked back at the child, then back at Ethan, tears forming in her eyes. She seemed to struggle with words, as if English was new to her. "Take me," she said. Ethan blinked. "Take you? Take you where?" She shook her head, trying again. "Take me." "As your concubine," her voice cracked with desperation. "Please, if you don't, they will kill my daughter." Ethan's entire body went cold. He had no idea what she meant, why she said that, or who they were. Before he could ask anything, her body went limp and she fainted in his arms. The child crawled out of the pod and stood beside Ethan. She gently touched the woman's face, then looked up at him again. Her glowing green eyes were full of fear. "My mother," the child whispered in a soft voice. Ethan felt panic rising, but also something else, a strange responsibility. He looked around the forest. It was too quiet, too still. Then he saw it. High in the sky, far above the trees, a dark shadow moved behind the clouds. Not a plane, not a bird, something larger, searching, hunting. The glowing lights on the alien pod began to fade. The forest grew darker. The air became heavier, like something enormous was approaching. Ethan grabbed the alien woman in his arms and pulled the child close. "Come on," he said. "We have to get inside now." As he carried them toward the observatory, the shadow in the sky moved again faster this time, like it had found its target. The hunt had already begun. The princess and the secret asterisk inside the old observatory. Ethan laid the alien woman on a small bed near the control panels. The child followed silently, her glowing green eyes watching everything with strange calm. The room smelled like metal, dust, and burning wires. Outside, the sky rumbled as the dark shape moved behind the clouds. Something dangerous was searching for them. Ethan quickly locked the doors and pulled down the metal shutters. His hands were shaken, but he forced himself to stay focused. The alien woman was breathing fast. Her skin flickered blue light running through her veins like tiny lightning. "Is she dying?" Ethan asked. The child shook her head. "She is. Weak. But she lived." There was something odd about the child's voice. It was too calm, too steady for someone so young. Ethan knelt beside the woman. "What's her name?" The child blinked once. "Lyra." Ethan touched Lyra's forehead. She was burning hot. Suddenly, her eyes shot open bright silver like liquid metal. She grabbed Ethan's wrist again. Where is Myra?" she whispered. The child stepped closer. "I am here, Mother." Lyra relaxed a little, but her body trembled with fear. She looked around the observatory with confusion, pain, and deep exhaustion. "You saved us," she whispered, her voice faint but clear. Ethan swallowed. "Who are you? What happened to you? And why did you say those words outside?" Lyra's eyes closed for a moment, as if the memory itself hurt her. Then she spoke, slow and careful. "I am Princess Lyra of the Asterix Empire." Ethan felt something cold in his stomach. He had no reason to believe her, but the way she said it didn't sound like a lie. The Asterix Empire. He had never heard of it. But the way she said princess, it carried a weight. Lyra sat up slowly, holding her side as if hiding a wound. "My people, my world, is gone, destroyed by our own rulers." She pointed at the child, "Mira, and they want her dead." Ethan looked at Myra Small, silent, glowing with strange energy. "Why? She's just a kid." Lyra shook her head. "Not just Mira is half human." Ethan's breath caught. "What?" Lyra touched Myra's cheek. "Our royal bloodline has rules. Our children must be pure, perfect, nothing like her." Her voice broke. "Her existence is a crime." Mira lowered her head. "They call me Error Child." Ethan felt anger rise in his chest. She's a child, not an error. Lyra looked at him with tired, sad eyes. To them, she is a threat. To our rulers, human DNA is like fire. It burns their control. If Mira lives, the royal bloodline loses power. She took Ethan's hand again, desperate. "So I did the only thing my culture allows. I ran to the one thing they fear." Ethan frowned. "Me, humans." Lyra nodded weakly. "In our ancient laws, if a royal woman declares a human as her concubine, he becomes her protector. Even the rulers cannot break this rule. It is sacred, old, untouched." Ethan's heart raced. That strange phrase she said in the forest now made sense. "You want me to protect you," Lyra whispered. "Not me, her." Myra watched them both, silent but alert. Ethan stood and paced the room. "But I don't even know what I'm protecting her from." Lyra forced herself to sit straight. Her silver hair flickered with soft light. "Listen carefully. Ethan, the ones who hunt us, are called the Void Hunters. They do not stop. They do not sleep. They do not forgive. They erase every trace of royal crime." Her voice trembled. "They will burn this entire mountain if they think Mira is here." Ethan looked toward the window. That shadow in the sky. Was it them? Lyra's face went pale. Yes, one of their scouts. The room suddenly felt smaller. The walls felt thinner. The world felt unsafe. Ethan took a deep breath. "You said humans can break your royal bloodline. What does that mean?" Lyra hesitated, then touched his wrist again. "Humans have something rare, something powerful, something no other species has." "What is it?" Lyra looked into his eyes. "Choice." Ethan blinked, confused. What? Your species chooses your own path, she whispered. You change your destiny. You rise even when everything pushes you down. You adapt, faster than any empire. She held Mira close. That is why Mira is dangerous. She has human will, human spirit. She can change our entire future. A loud boom shook the observatory. What was that? Mira's eyes glowed brighter. They found us. Lyra grabbed Ethan's shirt. Please, protect her. If they take me, fine. But don't let them touch Mira. Do whatever you must. Run, hide, fight. Ethan stared at the trembling woman and the glowing child. He felt something inside shift fear turning into resolve. Another explosion outside, the window rattled. The floor, VIBR. ATT Ethan made a choice. No one is taking her, he said. Not while I'm alive. Lyra closed her eyes with relief. Then Mira stepped closer to Ethan. She looked up at him, her small hand shaking. You will protect me? She asked softly. Ethan nodded. Yes, I promise. Her eyes glowed brighter. Almost too bright. Good, she said, because they are coming. Now, the lights in the observatory flickered. The door shook. Something huge landed outside. The hunt had reached them, and Ethan was no longer just a man. He was now a protector of a princess, and the last hope of a forbidden child. Asterisk. The hunters arrive. Asterisk. The first explosion shook the entire observatory like an earthquake. Dust fell from the ceiling. Tools dropped from shelves. The lights flickered again and again before going completely dark. Only the silver glow from Lyra's skin and the green glow from Ira's eyes lit the room. Ethan grabbed a small flashlight and pointed it toward the door. Stay behind me. Lyra tried to stand but collapsed back onto the bed. No, Ethan, listen. The Void Hunters don't enter quietly. They crush, they destroy, they show no mercy. I noticed, Ethan muttered. Another boom hit. The outer wall this time louder, closer. Something metallic scraped across the door, slow and hungry, like claws dragging against steel. Myra stepped forward, eyes glowing brighter. Ethan quickly caught her wrist. Stay behind me, kid. Mira didn't move. They want me, not you. Exactly why you're staying behind me, Ethan said, tightening his grip. Lyra's voice trembled. Ethan, humans don't fight Void Hunters. Not even other alien species fight them. They are trained from birth to kill. Ethan swallowed hard. Yeah, well, I don't exactly have a choice now. Outside, the sound changed. No more banging. No more scratching. Silence. A cold, terrifying silence. Lyra's eyes widened. That means they are analyzing the structure. They are learning it. They are choosing the fastest way in. Wonderful, Ethan muttered. The door suddenly bent inward metal, folding like paper. A fist-shaped dent appeared in the center. Ethan's heart hammered in his chest. He reached for the closest thing that looked like a weapon, a metal pole used to adjust antennas. But better than nothing, Mira whispered. You cannot win against them with that. Ethan forced a smile. You're really bad at comforting people. You know that. The door smashed again, harder, deeper, louder. Each strike pushed it closer to breaking. Lyra grabbed Ethan's arm, her voice filled with fear. If they take Mira, they will erase her. They will burn her memories, her mind, her soul. Please, you must run. Ethan shook his head. And leave you to here. Not happening. Lyra's eyes softened. She had never seen a human refuse fear like this. Mira tugged on Ethan's shirt. I can help, but if I help, I will not be the same. He knelt to her level. What do you mean? Mira placed her small, glowing hand on her chest. Inside me is power from my mother's blood, and human will from my father's blood. If I use both, it will wake something inside me. Wake what? She looked down. Something I cannot control. Ethan put a hand on the back of her head. Then don't use it. I'll handle this. Before Mira could argue, the final blow landed. The metal door ripped off its hinges and flew across the room, smashing into a wall. Cold night air rushed in. And then they appeared. 3 towering figures stepped through the broken doorway. They wore black armor that looked alive like molten metal that twisted and pulsed with their movements. Their helmets had no eyes, only glowing red slits. Lyra gasped. Void Hunters. The tallest one spoke. its voice deep and mechanical. Royal fugitive detected. Error child located. Human interference identified. Ethan stepped forward. You want her. You go through me. The Void Hunter tilted its head slightly, analyzing him. Human, primitive, disposable. It raised a long metallic blade built into its arm. Mira screamed, Ethan! The hunter charged. Ethan swung the metal pole with all his strength. It slammed against the hunter's helmet, but the pole bent instantly. The impact didn't hurt the hunter at all. The creature backhanded Ethan. The blow threw him across the room, slamming him into a metal cabinet. Pain exploded through his ribs. Lyra cried. He forced himself up, coughing blood, vision blurry. I'm fine. I'm fine. Just getting warmed up. The hunter aimed its blade at Mira again. Something snapped inside Ethan. He grabbed a loose cable from the floor, sparks flying from its exposed end. As the hunter stepped forward, Ethan lunged and jammed the sparking cable into the hunter's armor gap. Electricity roared. The hunter convulsed, its armor flashing violently. With a final burst, it stumbled back, smoke rising from its chest. Ethan fell to one knee, gasping for air. Lyra stared in shock. You defeated a Void Hunter with human technology. Ethan spit blood and forced a grin. We call this improvising. The other two hunters turned toward Ethan. Their armor glowed brighter. Human threat level increased. Mira suddenly stepped in front of Ethan, eyes glowing like two suns. Mira, no! Lyra screamed. But the child didn't stop. A wave of energy burst from Mira's body, silent, bright, and impossibly powerful. The entire room trembled. Screens shattered. Tables flipped over. The two remaining hunters were thrown backward out of the doorway, crashing into the dirt. Ethan shielded his eyes. The light was too strong. When the glow faded, Mira collapsed to the floor, breathing fast. Lyra crawled to her daughter. Mira, you awakened too early. Ethan held the wall, still dizzy. What? What was that? Lyra's voice cracked. That is the power of an Asterix queen. She is half human, but she carries the strength of my ancestors. Ethan's eyes widened. She did that? A child. Lyra nodded. And she cannot control it, which means she is in even more danger. Outside, the two throne hunters stood up, broken armor, sparks, but still alive. Ethan wiped blood from his mouth. We need to run, now. Lyra looked at him with fear. Do you understand what you just did? You fought Void Hunters and survived. News of this will spread. To the Empire, to their lords, to the galaxy. Ethan picked Mira up in his arms. Good, he said. Let them come. Lyra swallowed hard. Ethan Cole, human engineer, had just declared war on the royal killers of the galaxy, and the entire universe was about to hear it. Secrets of the Child Asterisk, the night outside the observatory, burned with blue flames, smoke, and broken metal. The two damaged Void Hunters dragged their heavy bodies back to the forest, retreating to call for reinforcements. They were injured, but not defeated. Inside, Ethan locked the gate with whatever he could find: chairs, metal bars, broken equipment. It wouldn't stop another attack, but it bought time. Lyra sat on the floor, cradling Mira against her chest. The child's small body shook with every breath. Her glowing eyes were dimmer now, almost fading. Ethan crouched beside them. Is she okay? Lyra nodded slowly. She is alive, but she used too much power to fast. Her body isn't ready. Ethan touched Mira's small hand. It felt warm, almost burning. What happened back there? She threw those things like toys. Lyra looked away, guilt filling her face, because she is not an ordinary child. She is something new. Mira opened her eyes weakly. I'm sorry, Ethan. He smiled softly. Hey, nothing to be sorry for. You saved my life. Mira tried to sit up, but Lyra held her down. Rest, my star. You must rest. Ethan gently ruffled Mira's hair. For a moment, something strange happened. Mira's eyes flashed, and he felt a soft whisper inside his head. You're scared, but you stay. That is brave. Ethan gasped and pulled his hand back. Did she just talk inside my head? Lyra nodded. Telepathy. She inherited that from me, Mira whispered. I can't control it yet. I just feel everything. Ethan rubbed his forehead. Feel everything. Mira nodded weakly. I feel fear outside. I feel anger far away. I feel your pain in your ribs. Ethan blinked. You can feel that. She nodded again. It hurts you. When you breathe. Lyra looked at Ethan with concern. She can sense danger. Emotions. Lies. Sometimes before they even happen. Ethan tried to laugh, but pain spread across his chest. Great, a child who can read my thoughts. No pressure. Mira smiled faintly. I won't read your secrets. Only your pain. Ethan looked at Hertha's small child, glowing with power, hunted by the galaxy. Something inside him softened without warning. He had never wanted kids. Never thought he would be good with them. But here she was, clinging to his arm for comfort. He whispered, I won't let anything hurt you. Either of you? Lyra watched him with surprise, like his promise was something rare, something alien. The room grew quiet. Ethan sat beside Lyra, both watching Myra sleep. Lyra finally spoke. Do you want to know who Mira's father was? Ethan nodded. If you want to tell me, Lyra sighed, her silver hair glowing softly. He was human, a scientist from Earth. He didn't know who I was when we met. I hid everything. But he was kind. Too kind. Her voice cracked. When the Royal Council discovered Myra inside Mira, they executed him. Ethan's jaw tightened. Because he was human. Because he broke their law, Lyra whispered. Royal blood must remain pure. A human mixing with it is unforgivable. Ethan clenched his fists. They killed him. And now they want to kill her. Lyra nodded, eyes filling with tears. Yes, they fear what she may become. Ethan looked down at Mira, sleeping peacefully. And what exactly can she become? Lyra hesitated. Her voice turned cold and heavy, like she feared her own words. She can become a queen. Ethan blinked. A queen. At her age. Lyra nodded. Royal children show power early. Myra's telepathy. Her energy burst. Her sensing danger. These are only the beginning. When she grows older, she may unlock powers no Asterix has ever seen. Ethan whispered, because she's half human. Yes, Lyra said softly. Your people have something we lack. A will that does not break. A mind that changes fate. A heart that chooses its own path, even against kings. She touched Mira's cheek. Combined with royal power, she may become unstoppable. Ethan's voice darkened. And that's why they fear her. Lyra nodded. Or worse, use her. Ethan looked sharply at her. Use her? Lyra lowered her head. The Empire may try to turn her into a weapon. Something that obeys. Something that destroys worlds. Ethan's stomach twisted. She's just a child. They want to turn her into a monster. With proper training, Lyra whispered, she could kill planets. Ethan stood up, pacing. Okay, great. So I'm protecting a potential galaxy-destroying kid. No pressure. Lyra grabbed his hand quickly. Ethan, she does not want to be that. Her human side, it gives her empathy. She cries when others hurt. She feels pain when you feel pain. Mira whispered in her sleep. Don't leave Ethan. Ethan froze. That small voice hit him harder than any Void Hunter's punch. He knelt beside her. I won't leave. Ever. Lyra watched him. You are becoming her protector. Ethan looked up. Yeah, guess so. Lyra's voice softened. You're becoming more. You are becoming her father. Ethan's heart skipped. He looked at the sleeping child. Somehow, the word didn't feel wrong, but the moment of quiet peace ended too soon. Mira suddenly sat up, eyes glowing fiercely. Fear shot across her face. They're coming back, she whispered. More of them. Many more. Ethan grabbed his bag. Then we can't stay here. Lyra pushed herself up. There is an old ship hidden under the observatory. Your scientist once kept it. My escape pod activated it. Ethan stared at her. We're going to space. Mira grabbed his hand. We must, or we die. Ethan nodded once. He didn't understand their world. He didn't understand her power, but he understood one thing. He would protect this child Evan if he had to fight the entire galaxy. Journey to Space *, Ethan followed Lyra and Mira through the cold, dusty basement below the observatory. The floor was cracked, old wires hanging from the ceiling. It looked abandoned, until Lyra placed her hand on a round metal panel on the wall. The panel glowed bright silver. The ground rumbled. A hidden platform unlocked with a deep, metallic click. Dust shook loose from the ceiling as a large circular hatch slid open. Revealing bright white light from below, Ethan stepped back. "You've got to be kidding me." Lyra gave a weak smile. "You're a scientist. The man who loved me, he built this place for emergencies. A ship hidden under Earth, hidden from the Empire." Mira tugged on Ethan's sleeve. "Come no time." They climbed down the metal steps into a large underground chamber. Ethan froze when he saw it. A ship, an actual spaceship, small, sleek, dark silver with glowing blue lines running across its hull. It sat on a circular docking pad surrounded by tools, crates, and old handwritten notes proof that a human had once worked on this. Lyra brushed her fingers across the hull. "He built it for us. He believed one day we would need a place to escape." Ethan touched the ship's cold metal surface. "He must have been brilliant." Lyra nodded softly. The entrance of the ship opened with a soft hiss. Inside, the lights glowed to life, sensing Lyra's presence. Ethan stepped inside and felt the floor shift under his feet, a strange pulling sensation, like the ship was alive. Mira ran to a small seat and buckled herself in confidently. "I know this place," she said. "Mother showed me pictures." Lyra took the pilot's seat. Her hands trembled, but she still activated the panels. "I can fly it. Not perfectly, but enough." Ethan sat behind Mira, fastening the belts as the ship hummed louder. The engines warmed, glowing blue dot outside. The observatory shook again, void hunters, searching for them. Ethan called out, "Lyra now!" The chamber roof opened in a perfect circle. Moonlight spilled in. Lyra pulled a lever, and the ship rose straight up, leaving the underground chamber behind. The moment they reached the open sky, the engines roared, and they shot upward. Earth grew smaller. The clouds turned into mist. The sky darkened. Ethan stared through the window, breath caught in his throat. He whispered, "I'm leaving Earth." Lyra looked at him with soft sympathy. "You are brave, Ethan. Many humans never see beyond their sky." The ship pierced the atmosphere, shaking for a moment. Then dash, silence, weightlessness, stars. "Endless stars," Ethan gasped. "It's beautiful." He had seen pictures, movies, animations, but nothing came close. Space was alive, vibrant, limitless. Mira floated slightly in her seat, giggling. "Ethan, look. No gravity." Ethan smiled, despite everything. "I see Lyra entered coordinates, her silver hair shining in the starlight. We must leave fast. If the void hunters track our launch path, they will find us." Ethan leaned forward. "Where are we going?" "To the neutral zones," Lyra said. "Planets outside royal control. Many are dangerous, but some will hide us." Ethan nodded. "Let's go." Lyra pressed a final switch. The ship stretched, blurred, and shot into faster-than-light travel stars, turning into long white lines. Ethan held onto the seat, shocked. "Is this safe?" Lyra smiled gently. Mostly, Mira laughed. "He is scared." "I'm not scared," Ethan said, gripping the seat tighter. "Just processing." The ship slowed after a few minutes. Exiting the worm line into open space again, Ethan's eyes widened before them floated. Massive starships, hundreds of them belonging to different species. Some looked like giant metal insects. Others were shaped like rotating blades. Some were living creatures with glowing wings, Ethan whispered. "This is another universe," Lyra nodded. "This is the fringe edge of controlled space." But not everything was peaceful. Far in the distance, Ethan saw dark red ships, huge, terrifying war vessels shaped like claws. Lyra's breath caught. "Those belong to the Council. They control half the galaxy. They want Mira gone." Ethan clenched his fists. "Because she can be queen." Lyra lowered her voice. "Because she can end their rule." Mira hugged Ethan's arm. "But I don't want to fight. I just want to be safe." Ethan looked at her small hands gripping him, at her innocent face glowing softly. "You will be safe," he said. "Both of you." Mira rested her head on his shoulder. Lyra looked back at him, eyes softening with something deeper respect, gratitude, and maybe something more human than she expected to feel again. But Ethan didn't notice. His gaze was fixed on the stars and on the warships in the distance. He whispered, "Lyra, if they control half the galaxy, how do we survive this?" Lyra turned to him, voice calm but determined. "We survive because we must, because Mira must live, because she is hope." even if she doesn't know it yet. Ethan nodded. Then I'll learn whatever I have to. Fight whatever I must. Lyra smiled gently. That is why humans are feared. That is why Myra's father loved you people. But you don't break. Ethan looked at the stars again, the ship gliding quietly through the void. For the first time since this nightmare began, there was no explosion, no enemy arriving, no immediate danger, just three beings, two alien, one human floating between galaxies. Together, save for the moment, together for the moment, but not finished because space was big and the future was bigger, and somewhere out there, Mira's destiny waited. The Royal Trial *, the ship drifted through calm space now. Far from Earth and far from danger, Ethan finally relaxed his shoulders. Mira slept beside him, her head leaned against his arm. Lyra sat in the pilot's seat, watching her daughter with soft eyes. For the first time since Ethan met them, the universe felt quiet. Lyra turned to Ethan. There is one last thing we must do before we can disappear. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Last thing. Yes, she said. The Royal Trial. Ethan frowned. Isn't that dangerous? Everything is dangerous now, Lyra whispered. But if we do not face the trial, Mira will never be free. They will hunt us forever. Ethan looked down at Myra's small hand holding his. He nodded slowly. Then let's end it. Lyra typed coordinates, the ship hummed, and a gentle blue tunnel formed ahead. They entered the warp line, and moments later they emerged before a giant structure, floating in space. It wasn't a planet, it wasn't a ship, it was something in between. A massive circular ring with tall golden towers, glowing symbols, and a glowing blue core. Hundreds of peaceful ships floated all around it, no weapons, no soldiers, just calm light. Ethan stared. What is this place? Lyra whispered, the Hall of Origin, the one place the Empire cannot use violence. Here, old laws rule. Laws even the Council cannot break. Ethan touched the window, and the trial happens here. Yes, she said. If the Hall accepts Mira, no one can harm her, ever. Ethan finally understood. This was not a fight. It was a legal end. A final decision. A place where violence ended and judgment began. The ship landed on a glowing platform. The doors opened quietly. Warm light washed over them. Lyra carried Mira. Ethan walked beside them. Inside the hall was silent. Tall white pillars stretched up like they held the sky itself. A soft wind moved, even though there was no air. The floor glowed under their feet. A group of tall figures floated forward. The keepers of law, ancient beings. Older than empires, older than kings. Their faces were hidden under light, their voices calm. One of them spoke. Princess Lyra of Ast, you return seeking trial. Lyra bowed her head. Yes, and who stands with you? The voice asked. Lyra stepped aside. Ethan stepped forward. I stand with her, he said firmly. The hall stirred with soft whispers of energy. No anger, no fear, no judgment. Just curiosity, a keeper asked. You are human. Yes, you choose to protect the error child. Ethan looked at Mira, then back at them. She is not an error, Ethan said. She is a child. Lyra's eyes softened with gratitude. The keepers floated closer. Bring the child forward. Lyra gently placed Mira in Ethan's arms. Mira woke slowly, blinking her glowing green eyes. Ethan, where are we? In a safe place, he whispered. The keepers formed a circle around Mira. Streams of light flowed like gentle rivers, touching her forehead, her hands, her chest. Mira looked scared. Ethan held her tighter. Lyra spoke softly. They are reading her soul, not her strength. Minutes passed with quiet light. Finally, the circle opened. A keeper spoke, voice deep but kind. The child carries royal blood and human will. A combination once feared. Lyra held her breath. Ethan squeezed Mira's hand. The keeper continued, but we see no darkness in her. No harm, no violence. Only fear, love, and great possibility. Myra hid her face in Ethan's shoulder. The hall glowed brighter, the same. Keeper declared, Myra of Asterix is not an error child. She is a rightful heir. She is protected by ancient law. Lyra dropped to her knees, tears falling. Ethan felt his chest loosen. A weight he didn't realize he carried lifted. A keeper. Then turn to him. You human, it said, the role you accepted. Protector, guardian, father, it is now bound. If you choose to stay, you become her lifelong shield. Ethan looked at Mira. Her small fingers held his shirt. Her eyes were tired, but trusting. He thought of his old life alone in the mountains. Fixing broken machines, no purpose, no family, he whispered. I choose her, always. The hall brightened again. A new law was sealed. Myra was now protected. Forever, Lyra stood beside Ethan, wiping tears. You saved us. You saved her. And you saved her father's last hope. Ethan shook his head. No. Myra saved all of us. The keepers stepped back. Your trial is complete. You may now go. No hunter, no ruler, no empire may touch the child. The sound of that sentence felt like a warm blanket over them. Ethan exhaled fully for the first time since this started. Lyra touched his hand gently. We can live now. Not run, not hide, just live. Ethan smiled. Where? Lyra pointed at the stars. Anywhere. Mira tugged Ethan's sleeve. Can we find a small, quiet planet? With trees and food. And maybe a home. Ethan knelt. A home, huh? Yeah, I think we can do that. Mira hugged him tightly. Thank you. Dad, Ethan froze. Lyra looked away softly. Then Ethan hugged Mira back. You're welcome, kid. The ship lifted again. Leaving the Hall of Origin behind, hunters followed. No empire came. No fear chased them. Just space, just freedom, just a new future together. Mira leaned between Ethan and Lyra, staring at the stars. What's next? She asked. Ethan smiled. A new life. Your life? Lyra placed her hand on his and for the first time since their worlds collided, the danger was gone. The war was over. The child was free. Their story had ended. But their family had just begun.